So good afternoon. My name is Louise van Rijn. Many of us know each other by now, which is so wonderful. This conversation this afternoon is part of a process of connecting South Africans to each other. And it started because we wanted to arrange a gathering this year. We were looking at this idea of African Leadership Week gathering. And then very, very quickly, it became clear to us that we don't know each other well enough to arrange a gathering together, and that we needed to fall in love with each other first. We needed to become a bit more enchanted with each other. So this conversation is one of a series we've had. We started with the National Mentorship Movement, fell in love deeply with everybody that we met on that call. Some of them are hopefully going to join us today. We then met Stephanie Fick and Wayne Divenacher and Ferial from the Outer team, fell deeply in love with them, just thought, oh my goodness, imagine a world where we can work with such amazing people. And then we had Songezo Zibi and his team from the Rivonia Circle. And today we have 50Plus-Skills. And next week we're going to have Math Mums, and we will have many more opportunities. So this is an opportunity for us to be enchanted with us as South Africans. And an organization to be enchanted with is the 50Plus-Skills community. So we've asked Linda Smith, who is the founder of 50Plus-Skills. I got to know her many years ago as the founder of the Refinement Network. And she's been just leading the charge in this conversation around our third and fourth quarters, which is where we are all in terms of our kind of 100-year life. So I'm going to hand over to Linda, and Linda is going to just introduce the organization to you, tell you what they are up to, introduce you to some of the amazing people who are involved in 50Plus-Skills. And we invite you to just be here fully and enjoy getting to know these people in this organization. So with that, Linda, over to you.
Thank you, Louise. Wow, that's an amazing introduction. And yeah, we're delighted to be here. Louise and I met in 2009 at the Denner King Scenarios, where we were both kind of signing up to be facilitators. And that for me is an amazing journey, because you never know when you have a crossroads with someone one day, what journey it takes you on as a result of those relationships. And it's been an extremely rich one since 2009. So yeah, wonderful. Thanks, Louise. And at that time, I was doing social entrepreneurship at Gibbs. And I was doing it around this whole theme of the people in the second half of life, those between 50 and 100, and what and how is longevity and technology impacting this generation as we age, and what are those advantages and challenges. And so I kind of spent a year at Gibbs doing that, and my big dream after that was to say, what if we could set up a skills bank where older South Africans who are exiting their formal or primary career could still be connected to learn, to serve, and to earn in South Africa, but at the same time to add value back for themselves and for everybody else. And so that vision and dream kind of became 50Plus-Skills in 2018, when I had an amazing group of people who came around me and said, we believe in what you're doing and we want to be part of that. And there are two of them on this call now with me, Terry and Jane, and I'll get them to say a few words just now. But yeah, so that's literally what we do. Is longevity means that we need to think about life differently. And if we think about 50 to 100, that's 50 years. We can't just retire to sit on the stoop for 50 years. And in fact, technology is changing our lives at such a rate that every 5 to 10 years, we should be looking at, so what do I do between 60 and 70 or 65 and 70? And if my health is still good, how can I still keep adding value to 70, 75, and hopefully to our last breath? So really that's what we do. And our focus is on the older generation, but also as an experiential dividend asset for the country to reconnect. And I'm going to share with you with a number of people on the call just now as to how we do that. So we're a membership community. Our members list who they are, what industries they've worked in, what skills they have. And in that way, we connect and run peer-to-peer learning sessions. We have newsletters, we do face-to-face. And we're building a collaboration between individuals, non-profit organizations, and companies. So we're kind of trying to work right across the sector. And our aim is to really bring sustainability, both financial and wellness for older people. Because I think the one thing, and I'm going to interview Louise just now too, so is that when we leave one thing that has been our identity for many years, and we navigate across to what is next, is the main thing is, what's my purpose? What am I going to get up for? And so that's really, I find in coaching and our conversations, helping people to navigate what that is for them personally, because each person's journey is unique. So that's a lot of what we're looking at. And yeah, we love to work in partnerships. So we have the vision, we have a database, but we cannot do it without other amazing organizations around us. And that's one of the main reasons why I engaged here with Louise, because I felt there was a wonderful way that we could possibly collaborate and give back. So Terry, I'm going to introduce you first as one of my shareholder partners. And if it wasn't for Terry and a back end that he had designed for his recruitment business, we would not be here today. So Terry, I want to say I'm forever grateful for that we used the assets that we had and we slightly changed it to become something else. Rather than people telling me it was going to cost millions, we managed to find a way with like-minded, generous South Africans. So Terry, tell me why you, as a young South African, I see got a little bit of a beard now. I haven't seen you for a while. Why did you?
I am eager to join the 50+ community. I'm only a few years away.
Yeah. Tell us why you kind of got involved in this business from day one.
Thank you, Linda. Thanks for the introduction. And good afternoon to you all. So, Linda, to answer your question, so I think for me, having been in recruitment for about 15 years, we are seeing more and more in this space firsthand just how difficult it is for people 50 years and above, particularly as we go towards retirement age. And this is not only in South Africa, but across the globe, really. And I think in a South African context, that is sort of amplified by the BE legislation, which has definitely its importance within the country. But I think we are seeing in the recruitment space, sort of particularly more white males and females who are forced into retirement or who are retired, but who are still like their counterparts of different races, just struggling to make ends meet post retirement. And I think for me, 50+ was the answer around how do we help this group of individuals, because in my mind they are an untapped pool that can still very actively participate in the South African and African economy, and we're just not or rather, positive thinking would be, if we put our heads together, there's ways for us to sort of take advantage or to leverage this group of people. They are so incredibly talented, in-depth knowledge and experience gained over decades, and it's almost currently going to waste, so to speak. So I think coming together with you and the 50+ team. I think that the passion there is around trying to really leverage off this group of individuals going forward for the betterment of our country and continent.
Right. Thanks, Terry. Yeah, because Terry works quite a lot across Africa as well. And I think there's lots of possibility. One of our members is she's a professor of mining geology, and she is mentoring young mining geologists in Ghana. So I think there are amazing possibilities. Jane, I'm going to call on you now as also one of our shareholders and avid and committed individuals within the community. Tell us why you decided to say yes to being a shareholder and partner in this business.
I think it's just there's such a gap and an opportunity in this country with the wealth and wisdom residing in a lot of us over 50. And this country needs every single person to knuckle down and do what they can do to fix just the basics. If we can get the basics right in this country, we will be a long way on a journey of getting better again. And rather than, as you say, have everyone sitting on the stoop twiddling their fingers, let's give everyone some renewed purpose and meaning and passion in their lives. If you've been in the corporate or you've been running your own business and you want to quieten down a bit, there's wonderful opportunities. And so that's what really I love about the 50+ community is sharing and seeing how we can serve, learn and earn. And people who have retired, closed down their businesses or sold them, they generally still need to earn a little bit more. So how do you top up on what you need on top of your pension or your savings? There are opportunities out there, and that's what we all do. And I think every single conversation we have with members of our community, with new people, you learn such a lot about the wonderful things that people have done and just get inspired by them. So that's why I'm here and why I keep coming back. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jane. So Louise, now I'm going to talk to you. We talk about this 18-month journey since leading Partners for Possibility and grappling with what was next for you. And, you and I have known one another for years. So what was it that all of a sudden made sense that didn't make sense a few years ago? And a lot of people tell me that. I don't understand what you do. So tell me why the penny dropped for you.
So I have to giggle when I think about this because, 10 years ago, Linda was trying to enroll me into this idea of what she was interested in at the time, which is this, what happens in our second half. And I was not interested. I mean, I kind of acted as if I was interested, but I have to be really honest. In my heart of hearts, I wasn't enrolled yet. And then suddenly, when I kind of was, Terry talks about what happens with a white woman when they have to when there's a time for them to leave and create space for other people. And it's a very real reality, Terry. And I was at a loss. I was in a, what now? Where do I go from here? I thought I was going to do this work for the rest of my life. It didn't work out that way. And I started searching, and I got really interested in what caught my attention. And what caught my attention was all the stuff that Lyndon's been talking about for all these years. So one of them was the Modern Elder Academy that Chip Conley. So I read Chip's book, Wisdom at Work, and that just, oh my goodness, what a book. If you haven't read Chip Conley's book, Wisdom at Work, please do. I'm looking at Craig Yateman. Craig, if you haven't read Chip Conley's book, we all have to read Chip Conley's book. And so that idea that this generation of people have wisdom that is not available to the youngsters that are leading our organizations. So, when Chip was asked to go and help to be the resident adult at Airbnb, because he brought a perspective and a kind of, years of making mistakes with him, all of that experience. And so Modern Elder Academy became a place where I hang out. So every week I get the recording of the Saturday call, and every one of those calls just made me think, Linda, this is Linda's work. This is Linda's space. So, and then I don't know, one of the people that Chip interviewed recently is a guy called Arthur Brooks. And Arthur Brooks is a professor at Harvard. His course is the most, I think it's one of the most loved course, but it's all around purpose and second half of life. And his latest book around, what is it called, Linda? Arthur's latest book? Can't think now. Strengths. Goodness, it's worth reading. Absolutely amazing. Now, I just can't remember the name, but I can remember. And then Linda also connected, kind of got me interested in Aviva. What's Aviva's surname? Wittenberg's work. She's at ALI this year, the Advanced Leadership Institute at Harvard, which is where I was advised to go to, but she's there for all of us. And she's just sharing so beautifully. And so this is just one of the richest communities. And earlier this week, just another book name I have to drop. Earlier this week, Aviva sent a note out and she said she was reading Lucy Kellerman's book. And for those of you who are interested in education, you will know that many years ago, Lucy, she was very well known. Thank you to me. From Strength to Strength. So worth reading. Cannot recommend it strongly enough. Lucy was a journalist at the Financial Times, and she got kind of the mid-year itch, and she decided, or midlife itch, and decided she needed to do something different, and she started to teach. And I'm reading her book, Re-Educated, at the moment. It's amazing, her story about leaving Financial Times and becoming a teacher, a math teacher. So yeah, Linda, your work has been a bit of a, it was over there for many years, and now it's just here, and it's my life, and I'm in that exact space. I'm 57. I have to figure out the next few decades of my life, and I'm so excited to be part of a community of the most amazing people who are figuring that out too. And so, Tumi, you are amazing. We need more Tumis in our life. She's just out there getting the names of all these books, and she's
that's why intergenerational is good.
Oh my goodness. And the other thing, Linda, that I just want to say is over the years I've had some amazing privileges, but one was that I was part of an intergenerational wisdom sharing community that was very intentionally set up with elders over 70 and mid-career professionals. And that was a life-changing experience for me. And I really do want to be part of creating that opportunity for other people. And I can go for it if I want.
Thank you, Louise. Right, and I want to switch complete direction to one of the things that I've been doing over the years is knocking on the doors of corporates to say, how are you preparing your older employees for the future? For this changing world, that they need to look differently. And there are very few companies in South Africa who are kind of prepared to even have a conversation about it. But I think COVID has escalated wellness and mental well-being for all employees as something that companies are starting to look at. And one of the companies that I've worked with for the last 3 or 4 years is the First Brand Group. And we have Oweto on the call with us. So Oweto, take yourself off mute and tell us, from your perspective of wellness in the HR space at the First Brand Group, where we've worked with you for 4 years now, what and why do you see the difference that's making in the older employees who are leaving the bank in the next 2 to 3 years?
So Linda, and hello everybody, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Linda. I think when we first started the conversation of, preparing our employees that are on their way to retirement, it stemmed from a point of, we are always focused on the young ones that join the organization, and we want them to excel, and we want to educate them. And meanwhile, you've got the people that have been there for a very, very long time, and they know the work from start to finish. When they leave, it's almost like, oh, thank you for all the years of your service. Goodbye, and the door closes. It's almost like we don't really value that that individual and the contribution that they have had towards the success of the organization. So we felt like it can't just end there. It's the employee's journey from start to finish. It needs to be the same. It can't break in such an ugly way at the end when they leave the organization. So that's where this stemmed from. And it has become such a passion project. And the more we do research, the more we realize, my gosh, we need to value the people that have got so much to offer, and also offer them the opportunity to continue to offer and explore what other passions they've got in life, apart from their usual 9 to 5 that they've been doing in FirstRand for whatever many years. So when you leave here, we want them to have that knowledge that you have so many options. There's so much out there in the world that you can explore. It doesn't end here. In fact, it starts. This is the time that you can start exploring your other passions, or continue with this type of line of work that you are doing, but just tapping into a different industry and not just the banking industry. So that's basically it. And it's work that's so enriching, because it's changing the individual's life. And it's also showing them that the organization cares from you from start to finish. Cares for you from start to finish, and we want to support you outside the fact that you are no longer a FirstRand employee, but we want you to excel outside the FirstRand organization, even when you leave us.
Thank you, Alweta. I really appreciate you as a champion, because your heart is in the right place, and we hope to see many more companies to take that up. Louise. You're on mute.
I just want to say, Alweta, firstly, kudos to you, because it is, we need more of this. But because when I talk to people about those, I mean, we know, this is the sad part, we know of many people who committed suicide after retiring because they were not ready to do that. And so one of the things we have to ask ourselves is, are we really setting people up for success for the next few decades? And you are doing that. So I cannot, be excited enough, but I also want to know, how can we get more people to do what you're doing? How, what role can you play to get the HR community to realize this is not a nice to have, this is a must have.
It's a necessity. It's really hard, holding the conversations and getting buy-in from the big leaders of the organization, and really having the argument about, we need to focus on everybody. And this retirement preparation piece is one that will impact your legacy as the organization, your reputation in terms of how well you take care of your employees. So I think that's maybe how you can position it, like your reputation as an organization that takes really good care of the employee. I think that's the right direction.
Thanks, Alweta. Marilyn, do you want to say something?
This conversation is firing me up. It's fantastic. And Alweta, also, I need to give you a thumbs up, and everybody, Terry, and it's just wonderful. But the stats show that 40% of people retiring suffer from depression after they've retired. And that's a huge, huge number. And yeah, I think that something, I 100% agree, organizations need to be doing something more. And again, as Louise said, kudos to you, Alweta, you're doing a wonderful job. Thank you.
So Marilyn, you led right into who I was going to talk to next, which is Tracy. And at 50 Plus, we also have non-profit partners. And one of those is Tracy's representing, which is SADAC, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. And so Tracy, firstly, you're a 50 Plus member in your own capacity, and secondly, representing the organization. So tell us a little bit about you dealing with it from an anxiety and depression side, and you see a different side, and many of our 50 Plus members have been through your counseling course and now run support groups. So talk to us about that scenario.
Thanks so much, Linda, and hi to everybody. Yes, Exactly the way the last speaker ended, saying that, you know, the element of depression is high on the rise. The sense of the need to have a place like SADA continue to grow, it's just never ending. Just quickly, I've been associated with the group for the better part of nearly 8 or 9 years. We have offices based in Rivonia, in Sandton. My job is to manage the place, to make sure that the lines are up, 26 of different helplines, 3 WhatsApp chat lines, emails, 6 different SMS services as well. And then we are visible on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well. So the organization is massive. It's been going now 28 years. I think what is incredibly important as well is that through our partnership and association with 50Plus, we've been able to get additional counselors come in. And that's how I joined the organization. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a social worker. I just had life experience and I thought, well, I must be a mom. I've got 2 teenage boys. Hopefully I can help somebody. So we get a lot of we get a vast range of people who wish to volunteer. We then have also been so incredibly grateful that we've had people from the 50Plus group, somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, join our support group training. I mean, we're now running, I think, over 200 support groups countrywide. And I think one of the things that what we're working with in the discussion here and the change of life as people move into retirement or living in isolation at the moment, lifestyles changing, is that we are so familiar with the terminology of depression. And for a lot of people, it is a significant chronic illness. But for a lot of us, we need to learn to live with it, which means that we've got to do lifestyle changes. Some of us, as we get older, will take a little bit of medication, and it makes it a whole lot easier to manage depression and even anxiety. But I mean, as I mentioned the word anxiety, I mean, the anxiety is so easily treatable and controlled with breathing. And tonight we have an Instagram live, 7 o'clock, a really, really phenomenal doctor talking about breathing techniques, Dr. Elamanga, and I'm going to post it in the chat for you. But, you know, I think what we work with is that in this community that we work with, that we don't often see, but it's always in the background, we are able to, number one, help crisis situations, but very often we're just able to be the foundation of a little bit of simplicity. Not everything is a chronic illness, but I think we need to be incredibly more aware of our mental health at the moment. So I can't even begin to tell you how much stuff we do, but I love what we do. I love that I get to pop in and every now and then with 50Plus, and it's so good to see Jane again. But yeah, the journey has been amazing, and I think that it's something we have to obviously explore together as we consider retirement.
I think, you know, whether it's tutors, mentors, counselors, facilitators, teachers, you know, it's all those doing words are some of the ways in which we can plug into different organizations. Famada, I'm going to come to you next, because part of 50Plus is the serving, earning, and learning, but also holding an advocacy role for understanding what does it mean to be older in a South African context. And Famada is the CEO of TAFTA, which is an organization of aging in KZN, but she is also the South African representative at Common Age, representing South Africa in the Commonwealth countries. So Famada, in 2 or 3 minutes, just share your context from what does this look like, old age in a South African context, and we're delighted to be in relationship with you, and maybe share what happened last year in the floods as a result of that. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Thanks, Linda. Thank you so much for inviting me to share my experiences with the group. Yeah, 2 or 3 minutes. Let's just try and see how I can contextualize this. I think right at the outset, perhaps let me start with chapter, which is the Association for Age. As an organization, we're driven by our purpose, which is to make dignity, growth, and a meaningful life a realistic prospect for all elders. So we're working with older people, and one of the things that we do is constantly explore ways in which we create an enabling environment for older people, with older people, and you know, living, sort of promoting this whole life of purpose. I think that's so important, and you know, I love listening to the people before me, where everyone speaks about, you know, once you retire, how do you define your purpose, when we sort of attach all our purpose to our work, which is quite crazy anyways. But I think, you know, that's very important. I work a lot with people who are in that phase, who have come to chapter for some support or some assistance, and it's about redefining this narrative of aging, because we seem to live in a society that is so focused on younger people, being able to do things, that we forget that there's a whole lot of people who have done fabulous things before. So it's about changing that narrative of aging. That's the first. In terms of my role on different platforms, yes, I serve on Common Age, which is the Commonwealth Association for the Aging. It's the only accredited Commonwealth organization dealing with aging issues in Commonwealth countries. And we recently had the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Kigali. I think we're constantly pushing forward the aging agenda. It's really, really quite discouraging sometimes when you have these big meetings and people forget that there are older people that are part of the Commonwealth as well. And we need to ensure that there's resources allocated to the aging agenda. Rightly so, you know, there is focus on the youth, because 60% of the population in Commonwealth countries are under the age of 30. So there is focus on youth work. But I do think that it is very important for us to consider the role that older people play in youth development work, in the transfer of skills. So listening to some of the work that you are doing really excites me, because there's opportunities for synergy, and there's opportunities for us to take forward that conversation. So 2023 has been deemed as the year of the youth in Commonwealth countries. And really it's an opportunity around, you know, how do we inspire this intergenerational conversations? I popped Louise a little message just now to say I was really interested in what she was talking about in terms of this intergenerational wisdom sharing opportunity. And can you imagine if we are able to do that? It really does reposition older people as contributing members of society. It really spotlights the importance and the role that they play in our lives. So yeah, that's kind of what I advocate for. Is that 2 or 3 minutes? Have I gone? I can speak for 2 hours.
Okay. I could give you a whole session, because you do such amazing work on the Older Persons Act. She's acting on behalf of us. And Moira, I'm going to come to you next, but you had shared a video with me from the lady who's heading up the Nigerian Older Persons Center, where she said longevity is on everyone's agenda, because it is the one ageism, or the one ism, that we will all experience, is growing old. And so it's an important subject. And at Davos in 2020, it was the first time that longevity was on the Davos agenda, and it basically came out that we will live on average 10 years longer than our parents and 20 years longer than our grandparents. And so we can't think the same way. And by 2050, Famada, you will have the numbers. The African continent will have the most old people in the world. We are the youngest continent now, but as this youth moves through over the next 20 years, we better start sorting out some of those things that will be around when we're old, and make sure we create the leaders. So Moira and I have also known one another for a number of years. Moira is a South African, but lives in France, and is a passionate person around longevity and aging. And is the founder of an organization called the Pass It On Network, which is passing on the baton and learning, and we are the ones that we have been waiting for. So it's not about leadership with someone else, it's about us picking up the baton or creating the space. And Moira has been an amazing friend, and I am the South African liaison for the Pass It On Network in South Africa in the global organization. But Moira also runs a SADC version of the Pass It On Network. So Moira, just in 2 or 3 minutes, share a little bit about the conversations we have with some of our SADC counterparts in Botswana and elsewhere. Take yourself off mute, Moira.
Thank you so much, Linda, and thank you for being here, and greetings to everybody. Pass It On Network, the acronym is PION, which we now add earring. So we are the pioneers in this field, because it is a whole new field. As Linda said, we've got 50 years, probably, from 50 up to 100. And we must stop sitting waiting for somebody else to come and invent something for us. We need to take the initiative and make things work for us. And I'm just so thrilled to have this Southern African group that we're busy building right now. We have, the way we work is that we're not a big membership organization, but we like a catalyst. So we have the bright sparks from around the world, and we meet, thank goodness, virtually, because we didn't have money to meet elsewhere. But it's just the magic and the enchantment, because I love the way Louise uses that word, the magic and the enchantment of meeting each other and learning about what other people are doing. So let me just give you a quick whoop around Southern Africa, and I did put my timer on. First of all, we've got Beatrice Sitoli in Zimbabwe, and she managed to get a 1-hour meeting with the president of the country to put forward the case of older people. She's an author, and she runs an organization called The Power of Touch. Then we've got Linda Chipunza, who's a university professor, helping young people to start their careers. We've got Mampai Lebeko from Lesotho, who's a legal person, and she's a born advocate. She spends her life, amongst other things, fighting for the rights of the women and the family whose men went off to work in the South African mining industry. Then we've got Megan Mafutu, who is a professor of psychology at the Botswana University. And Megan was one of the very first people who put the highlight on the actual vital role of grandparents when the AIDS crisis started to become really important. And then we've got Rebecca Lekoko, who's an academic, also from Botswana, very interested in lifelong learning. Christine Crossley, who's really Miss Meals on Wheels in the Gauteng area. And when I speak to her, I'm just absolutely staggered by her resilience. What she meets and faces, and I'm sure Famada will know what I'm talking about, on a day-to-day basis is absolutely staggering. And we've got Grace Smith from Cape Town, who's now well into her 80s, and she's so fired up about the climate change and gets things moving in that field. We've got Famada, and we're very delighted to have her, and I'm not going to go into her because she's been speaking. And then Maleba from Polokwane, who's busy right at the moment helping to organize that South African railway train that goes through and brings health to the local people. And and also we've got Katie Wilton from the Wilton's Foundation, which I'm also director of. 3 minutes, 26 seconds.
Wonderful. Thank you, Moira. You can see I'm a terrible timekeeper, but there were so many wonderful pieces to share that I wanted to make sure that we did that. So Marilyn, I'm coming to you next. So Marilyn and I are kind of in the same industry, and Marilyn, I'm going to leave it to you to kind of just give us, so in 2020 and 2021, I became quite heartsore about the whole digital inclusion process and how through the acceleration of putting everything online, that the older people were excluded because they don't have the skills, the data, or the equipment. And so became more and more isolated. And so Marilyn and I did a bit of a project on digital inclusion. So Marilyn, over to you to share about You've Earned It.
Okay, thanks, Linda, and thanks for inviting me to attend this forum. Just to introduce myself, because some of you won't know me, I run You've Earned It, which is a digital media platform for South African 60-plussers, and why I serve a large community of relatively digital savvy 60-plussers by providing relevant and on-point content. And we also connect influential brands and service providers who provide great offers to our senior audience. So yeah, as we've been talking about, this demographic also comes with its own set of challenges and issues, you know, things like health challenges, healthcare costs, financial security, downsizing, social isolation, loneliness, and what a couple of people have said, finding meaning and purpose in retirement. And as Linda said, it was during that conversation when we discussed that massive rise in new technologies worldwide, and technologies that actually benefit healthy aging and longevity. And so we decided to collaborate in a digital inclusion project to find out where our audiences stood in terms of technology. So the senior market is huge. I don't know if we've talked about that. Well, Linda, you did allude to it. You know, worldwide, we're talking about a silver tsunami. And in South Africa, we're talking about 10 million people over the age of 50. And that equates to 16% of a South African population. So that presents massive opportunities for organizations to address the older generation. So Linda and I conducted the Silver Tech Revolution research over 3 platforms, and we found that the challenges faced by 50-plussers are pretty standard worldwide. And you know, we all know banks, retail outlets, and the health sector have all gone online, and they're waiting for nobody. And despite the fact that the majority of our respondents to this study are digitally literate to a point, many feel as though they're being left behind when it comes to new technologies. And what we find, which is quite interesting, that the primary barriers, things like the lack of self-confidence, the fear of doing something wrong when online, people feel very vulnerable when it comes to, you know, possible misinformation, scams, and generally the unknown. And a lot of people are very unsure on how to navigate around apps, and they're concerned about privacy issues and knowledge gaps. And the other big thing we found, which is a major barrier, is data being so prohibitively expensive in this country. And of course, we know in this group that to fully participate in society, new technologies need to be mastered and be inclusive and benefit all, but they just don't. And the majority of South African seniors are now enjoying, they're not enjoying the benefits of these new technologies. They're not at ease with them. They can't afford to be online, and they're experiencing a plethora of challenges and barriers. And I believe, and I know Linda does too, that if we don't step in now and take South African senior citizens into consideration when it comes to the online space, we're going to run the risk of shutting seniors out from society and worsening an already very worrying trend of isolation and loneliness amongst the elderly. So I think it was a very important project that we did, and yeah, Linda and I have tried to address quite a few of the issues since then, but I don't think we've got terribly far, Linda. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think, you know, these things highlight things, but getting them turned into implementation projects, we need corporates and companies to take the older population a little bit more, you know, seriously. So that's given you a real patchwork of, or a rich tapestry of some of the partners and people that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. And there are so many more that we could. So we want to open it up to questions now, Louise, if there are any questions.
Yeah, I want to just for those of you who are not, have not been involved in 50Plus-Skills. So Linda has this ability to connect. She's a dot connector. And she notices. So we've got Stephanie from Outer on the call, and a few weeks ago we were talking about water and Ferial's project on water, and Linda had an immediate sense that, oh my goodness, can you imagine if we get the 50-plussers to get passionately involved in water, because the reality is we all have different interests. So Linda's been, 50Plus-Skills have been, very supportive in getting people from their community involved in Partners for Possibility, for an example. They've supported some activities in schools. So one of the opportunities for us is to look at what are people interested and where are they looking for additional skills and knowledge and wisdom. Some members of the community need to earn, so they want to do stuff where they can earn money. Some of them don't need to earn, they just want to feel that they're living purposeful lives. So it's also realizing that there's a complete mix. There's the entire, spectrum of people who just want to, they've lost their community because they were working and now they're no longer part of that community, and they're looking for, how can I become part of a community where I can feel that I make a contribution. Some of us are still very much in formal work, but we are in that same demographic, and we know that we need to start to think about what's going to happen the next 10, 20, 30 years. So I've personally loved being part of the community because it means that you are confronted and invited to be part of conversations that might not be otherwise available. I remember we've had many, in Partners for Possibility, we've had many calls from people saying, I've retired and I've now drunk all the G&Ts I can possibly drink, and I've played all the rounds of golf, and my garden is looking great, now what? And so then when we connect them with principles and they get a new sense of purpose, and then it's just the most amazing thing to happen. And we've seen, I want to just make sure that Olwetja knows about this. Olwetja, one of the things that Anglo did at one point is they made it possible for their retiring employees to join Partners for Possibility. So their transition was, they were in Anglo, then they became part of Partners for Possibility, and that was the most amazing opportunity to give back, but also develop a new community, and also learn how to be a development partner in their own organization, because that's the real opportunity for us in this age, is to develop other people sharing our knowledge and skills. And then, Linda, if there is an opportunity, I'd love to just respond to that question from Famara. Maybe not right now, but if you just keep an eye on time, maybe there's an opportunity to talk about intergenerational wisdom sharing as a designed process.
Thanks, Louise. So any questions from anyone? Any comments, or just put up a hand? Demasani, we see you've just joined us. Welcome. Where to?
Thank you. So for me, Linda, I'm listening to everybody and I'm super excited because I want to invite you all to come and have a conversation and hear the employee and let the employees hear you and the work that you do and all the possibilities. So I guess this is a side question for you. Like, can I get the details and like profiles of everybody and everything that is done? Because obviously you and I are still planning the workshop that's coming in November for all First Rand employees. And I feel like there's such a wealth of knowledge here that will help the people that we're targeting.
Fabulous. You and I will chat about that. Fun, wonderful. Anyone else? What caught your, Moira?
Just very quickly, Linda, you used the word of people exiting from their careers. Could we flip that and talk about entering the next stage?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I think they are reimagining the next chapters of your life is the way we need to be seeing it, because, and it's chapters, not just one chapter, because as I said, it may be 60 to 65 is one direction, or 70, and then something changes in your family dynamics and you move or you downsize, because there's a whole bunch of other transitions that this group are going through: empty nesting, leaving the workplace, downsizing, shifting, regeneration. And, you know, these are all conversations that we have at our sessions, because these are the things we have to grapple with about from 50 to 100. There's a hang of a lot of conversations that we have.
And Moira, I just want to say one of the things that I mentioned this to Linda earlier this morning. I was on a conversation with someone yesterday about a session that we're doing tomorrow, and she was talking about David Sibbett. Now, for many of us, David Sibbett has been this kind of iconic graphic facilitation leader, and she said he's so inspirational. So she's just turned 50. He said he's so inspirational because he's 73 and he's on a vision quest this week because he's working out what he's going to do with the next decade. And I'm going to go, I want to be part of that community. I want to be part of the community where at 73, we're talking about what am I going to do with the next few decades, rather than, you know, when I grew up at 73, you were just waiting to die. And I don't want to live my life waiting to die. So I'm looking for communities where we can get excited about, oh my goodness, what are we going to do for the next, you know, few generations and next few decades.
Thank you. I agree, Louise. And Amia, do you want to kind of give us your 2 cents worth about your move out of academia into navigating this next space?
Thanks, Linda. You know, I'm sitting here waiting, and I'm looking forward to being one of your dots, which I am at the moment. But I'm relatively new to 50Plus-Skills. I retired last year from the University of the Free State, where I've been working in university marketing and alumni relations, running alumni relations and fundraising offices. And while sitting here, I was just recalled what a terrible, and I'm going to say this, terrible experience leaving was. Firstly, we kind of got a letter or a note a few months before retiring, and it arrived in my email box saying, "Dear XXX." And there was absolutely no preparation for the retirement. And throughout the university, and I've worked at Stellenbosch, UCT, Free State. You know, when you refer to older employees, it was the deadwood. People being encouraged to take early retirement. It's kind of a really cruel way in which people are still treated in organizations. So I think there's a big opportunity there to make changes and to talk of personal experience. And I'd love 50Plus-Skills to, for example, be involved in a program, say, at the University of the Free State, and I think we should facilitate that. And for me, the transition has been hard. I'm very, very pleased that I'm now enrolled in one of Linda's courses, one of the 50+ courses about the new chapter. And my experience of your organization, Linda, has been amazing. You meet the most amazing people, inspiring people, all these books that we're going to refer to and that we're going to have to read. And yeah, my grandmother was 100 when she died. My mom is now 91. It's, you know, it's in the genes. And I would really very much like to be an active participant in advocacy around this period of all our lives.
Thanks, Anamia. And that for me is the sadness, is that so many people spiral downwards, not knowing or having anyone to help them to turn their lives around. And so thank you for sharing that. I know it's personal, but I think it's really important for us to kind of understand what people are going through. Louise?
But Linda, isn't it, it's like, it's who we are in relationship and conversation with. So my experience, Anamia, and I'm sure you've got the same, I can't be in a conversation with Linda and Moira and people on this call and not get excited. I mean, you know, it's like, imagine what we can do together. So part of why I'm so excited about doing these kind of conversations is I need it for myself. Otherwise, I'm going to get depressed. And so I know I need to create opportunities for me to be enchanted with other people who are doing wonderful things, because it's also a reminder for me around, you know, we have this time we have left is getting smaller and smaller and shorter, and we need to make the most of it. And I want to be part of conversations with people who get that, and who are not wishing that away or or, you know, spending their time in their pajamas in their, you know, in front of the TV, but realize that actually they have a contribution to make, and a massive contribution. And it's just about being in conversations with people who will remind them of that. So our generation is gonna leave a very different legacy. And it does lead me to me, no age limits in this organization. We want everybody, but I'll let Linda say. But let me quickly tell you, Timmy, because I want to talk I want to quickly respond to Famada's question earlier around, sorry, I've got a dog barking. Famada's question earlier around intergenerational wisdom sharing. So many years ago, Timmy, I was a mid-career, I don't know, what do you call them, mid-career professional. And I felt the need to have a closer relationship with one of my mentors. And in conversation with him, we realized that actually it's going to put him in a very difficult situation if it's just a kind of one-on-one relationship. So we created, the two of us together with a few other people, created what we called an intergenerational wisdom sharing group, where we had 10 people older than 70. And Moira, you might get excited about this. So we had 10 people older than 70 who each chose 3 mid-career professionals that they wanted to support in their work. And those each of us, so I was one of the mid-career people, each of us had a commitment that we were going to share what we were learning with 5 others. So it had this kind of pyramid effect. With five, we call them next generation. So once a year, we would all come together, these 10 elders, we called them, with the 30 mid-career professionals, met at Angeles Arian's place in Sausalito in the US. So that was, you know, lots of privilege there, but I think we can do it in South Africa. And we were just, and what happened is that the elders kept talking about how they needed the energy of the mid-career professionals to keep going and be excited. And then the younger people were talking about how they needed the elders to just help them to slow down a bit because they were running so fast, and they just needed this time to just breathe and become a bit more present. And so I just think that's one of the things that I've always kind of dreamed about. How can we make that a reality for more people, to be intentionally learning from each other generationally? And then we created, every time we got together, and we were together for about 4 days a year, we created beautiful processes of where, you know, the various generation would intentionally, you know, be together and then be in conversation in the presence of people from another generation. So that's something that maybe Linda, we can do a workshop on. Where's the opportunities for us?
I think I think it also talks to Tumi's comment around, you know, what is there an age limit in 50 plus? We don't have an age limit. We obviously most of the people who join are 50 plus, but we have some people in their 40s who have joined. And, you know, for us, it's been a case of partnerships. And we've done some intergenerational online chats as well. And I agree with you. They're such rich conversations that help us to all learn from each other. Jane and I both mentor with Fatola, and I love nothing more than my diverse network of working with younger people who are starting up an entrepreneurial process, because it energizes me and it gives me the opportunity to share some of the lessons from 40 years of being in business myself. And, you know, you can't buy that with money. So often I hear people say to me, but people don't want to pay me what I'm worth. And it's attached to our identity in our primary career. And I do think that meaning is also a currency. So when we are energized by what we do, there is sometimes a feel. Rob Rasconi, who's an actuary in the space, said one day to me, I get up to go to work every day. Sometimes I work for money and sometimes I work for free. And sometimes the work I do for free adds more value to my life than the money in my bank account. And I think that was such a valuable statement that I live by today, because, you know, our lives need to be portfolios of diverse things that we do in our area of passion and skill. at the level in which we can do it in this stage of life. And for each of us, it's different. That's the beauty, is it's unique and different for each person, which is fantastic. But intergenerational, absolutely want to do that. So the intergenerational person on our team is the younger one, is that man with the beard. So I hope you heard all this, Terry.
I did. Thanks, Linda. And you know, I think such an exciting conversation. It's always so fulfilling to connect with people with shared agendas, shared values. I mean, everyone is so excited about this topic, and I think someone said it earlier. We could speak about this for hours and days and hours. There's just so much we could do. I think, Olweto, again, I think like everyone else has mentioned, what you're doing is phenomenal. And for us at 50Plus, we also believe that corporates can be amongst those at the forefront of changing the current status quo. You know, I think, you know, being in recruitment, I know when people start their first job, you know, there's butterflies in your stomach, but it's an excited kind of, you know, butterflies. But towards the end of your career, it's a sick feeling in your stomach, you know, because you are so connected to your work community. That's what gives you identity. That's what gives you purpose. That's what gets you out of bed. And the thought of not having that one day can be, you know, very scary for many, if not most. And I think this is partly what leads to that depression. So again, if corporates can, you know, so similar to internships, but this is the other way around. If corporates can, more corporates can kind of take the lead in terms of 2-3 years before retirement, sort of working with those who are about to retire, helping them. And I think for me, it's helping them firstly to unlearn certain things that perhaps are ingrained, because the world is so dynamic at this stage, but also helping them to adapt and prepare for that next chapter. What will drive you? It's not only about income, and I think income is very important, but I think even loneliness is a big one. Many, you know, sort of find family at work, and once work is over, if say you've lost your significant other, if your kids have moved out, if you don't have kids, etc., that sense of loneliness again is a big one. So there's income related and non-income related issues that can be dealt with even at a corporate level. But again, I could talk about this for hours and days, but so great to be a part of the discussion.
Thanks, Terry.
I was just wondering, Linda, there are a few voices we haven't heard at all. Craig, Stephanie, Maylene, Dumi. I don't know whether we could hear just maybe a few words from you in terms of your response to what you've heard so far.
Sure, Louise. Hi, everybody. And thanks, you know, hats off to everybody on the contributions and the work and the thinking. I do want to echo Moira's sort of call to change the language from exiting to entering. You know, there's a lot of the work at FNB is about preparing for retirement. And, you know, that's not refirement, that's retirement. And, you know, that's not what I'm signing up for. So, you know, a conversation about retirement, I understand. Personally, I think that the sort of tar traps or the tar pits or the quicksand of depression is there for many people throughout their life. So I don't think it's particularly unique to post 50. It's just one of the traps of the mental health challenges that we face. There's other traps, of course. When you switch career midlife, there's a trap of sloth, that you just eventually sit at home and watch the TV, which is, you know, or YouTube. That's fairly attractive and addictive. And there's a trap of slavery where people just cotton onto those skills and try and figure out how to milk you. Maybe there are other traps, I'm sure. But you know, standing apart from all of those traps is, I'm looking for case studies of people who got into it at 50 and just like tore a new chunk out of life. I like the case that always inspired me, which was Yanni Mouton starting PSG, the entire PSG group, everything, PSG, Capitec, the Curo schools, all of it. He started after 50. And we need more of those. You know, I'm not yet prepared to sign up to limp along in the street with somebody helping me. I want to be tearing a new arsehole out of life. And there's not enough of that in this conversation right now. And I'm 56. You know, I understand 65, 70. My mom just turned 77 yesterday. And, you know, she still gets up and kicks the shit out of life every day. So I buy that 50 to 100 is a new career, but the language even on this call is still too dominated by, you know, exiting, retirement. And that's not, I don't want to talk about that.
Great comments, Craig. Thank you. Stephanie.
I am just inspired that, you know, anything is possible. If you put your mind and your energy behind something, anything is possible. And it is just refreshing to know that, you know, despite the fact, and unfortunately, you know, South Africa and South Africans are going through, you know, difficult times. Economically, it's not going great. But despite all of that, if we all come together, this is the type of initiatives we have. And it's really great. I take my hat off. I'm in admiration of all of you. And it's really, I just thank you, Louise, for including us in this group and hear what everybody is saying. And it just reaffirms the fact that as South Africans, I mean, no one can bring us down. I mean, it is awesome. It really is awesome. And I reiterate what Greg said. Can I say that my husband's grandmother is 92 and she still kicks ass. So it is, it is really refreshing. I literally am in awe. And thank you, Linda, and everybody that can really lead something like this. So I'm inspired that, you know, when am I reaching retirement age, you give me the strength to think, but what can I do when I'm in this new phase of my life? And that it doesn't mean the end. It's actually a beginning. And it's up to me to make the best of it, but there is support. And yeah, so just thank you. And yeah.
Stephanie, the only thing that we want you to take away from this, because you here as the outer representative, is that what outer as an organization wants to do is very much aligned with what 50Plus-Skills as an organization is committed to. And one of the things that Linda and I got involved, kind of got to know each other because we were both committed to this idea of walking together. And walking together means that, you know, I mean, it doesn't take we know that we can do so much more together than we can do apart. So outer can achieve much more what outer wants to achieve if they're in partnership with what 50Plus-Skills is trying to do. So we just hope that we're going to keep looking for ways that we can, you know, walk together with regard to these big challenging issues that we're all tackling.
Yeah, I agree. We'd love to help you with your water project wherever we can and any other projects, because that's the vision for me. I was involved at my school for many, many years as the national sales manager, and building small communities in every part of South Africa is what changes the country. It's the individuals as part of something that makes the whole. And so that's what we offer, is this experiential dividend of individuals across the country that can slot into different projects. So thanks, Stephanie. Maylene has got her hand up. Yes.
Hi, thanks again. I think, Louise, thank you so much for reminding us on the group that you have about this chat. As I said in my comment, you know, I'm a public servant. I'm not speaking officially as a public servant, but, you know, I just think about the public service and the public servant community. There's a big push now to get public servants to retire because of the public sector wage bill. And, you know, previously to where I am now, I was with the Department of Education, and a large cohort of educators are in the retirement phase or age. And there just isn't this level of support. I didn't even know about this organization. A lot of my colleagues, you know, I'm at that age where I can take early retirement, but I still have a lot of kick in me. So I'm going to keep going. But, you know, I'm just sort of thinking, how do we get, you know, this information to, and as a public servant myself, I'm, you know, going to contact the Public Servants Association, because I really think when a lot of our teachers, for example, even public servants retire, they retire either into township or rural communities, and a lot of work is needed in those areas. And, you know, this kind of a network can give them that kind of support, the skill set, etc., and just the guidance as to how to get things going in their communities. And therefore we work better and stronger, and there's a sense of purpose, because I think a lot of people are afraid to take early retirement because they just don't know what now, you know. So it just really got my mind thinking. And as an existing public servant, how do I get this information to my colleagues who are retiring and make sure that they know this organization is out there, and leverage that, you know, that skill set that's about to go into furlough, and they don't have to, you know. So yeah, thanks for this. Really, really interesting.
Thanks so much, Maylene. And yeah, we would love every single person in this country, the 10 million, to know about us, because imagine when we are 10 million strong, what we can do. And so I know I've given you the details, and let's chat afterwards, because we can find ways. In fact, last year, one of our other non-profit partners is Financial Planning Institute, and we collaborated on doing a webinar for teachers, for educators across the country on their next season beyond the world of education. Sadly, wasn't as well attended, but it was there for everybody to attend, and they had space to take thousands. So maybe we must reintroduce that and, you know, start the process somewhere when there's lots of people. Louise.
So Linda, it's 5 minutes before we are scheduled to end. I want to just end in the way that we are committed to end all of our conversations, which is with a few words of appreciation. So Stephanie started us off. She kind of acknowledged what everybody's doing. There was a challenge from Craig. He reminded me why I'm always enchanted with him. But let's hear one or two other voices with just words of appreciation. So you can just open your mic, and it's something that we need to learn how to do more of. So this is an opportunity for you to practice. Dumi, and Dumi is another man who we all need to know more of. Dumi, you quietly in the background. Just want to tell everybody, if you haven't met Dumi, you have missed out on life. So Dumi, tell us what you've been inspired by.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And thanks, Linda. And good to see you, Craig. You look more wise, Craig, now. You know what I mean. This is amazing. And Linda, your journey to this point, what you've done, both of you, Linda and Louise, you got to know that you are living, walking, legendary gifts to many of us. So you need to know that, and we appreciate you, and may you continue to do what you do, and fearlessly stepping up and stepping out onto spaces that require this work. May you continue to do that. For me, as an executive coach and team coach, I'm fascinated. I'm 55, and I'm loving what I'm becoming, an elder with the voice, and I get out of the way to allow younger people to show up even more, because sometimes we get in the way. Yes. There's a lot of young wisdom that's required into these spaces. So I'm glad, Linda, to hear that there are people in their 40s that come into this space. So let us continue to do that. So deep appreciation to everyone on the call. May we continue to do this. Thank you.
Thanks, Dumi. Appreciate you always.
Thank you, Dumi. We love you, your wise contribution. Let's give one last person a chance to speak, or shall we leave it with Dumi? That was so beautiful. I think that's it. I think that's the end of our conversation. Thank you very much, everybody. Please go and tell at least 2 other people about 50+ Skills today. We want to have, actually, Craig, I've got my money is on you to be the next Yanimaton. So please, can you not disappoint on that level? We are watching with interest. I'm going to see where Yateman Enterprises is going to take us. Let us know whether you need anybody to join you, because I would be keen. And for the rest of you, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. We will continue to host these conversations. You'll get an opportunity to join our WhatsApp group, or to just be sure that you get to know about further conversations. And join us next week for the Math Mums conversation, because that's another opportunity to be enchanted. Have a wonderful afternoon. Rest of your afternoon, good evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.